Welcome to the latest installment of putting our lawn train together. If you can't see him, I have a helper today. Geno! Gene! Say hi!
Hi!
Wave. And things go a lot quicker when you have a helper.
Hi!
Yeah, that's right.
Hi!
He's 2 years old. He's going to be my chief engineer. And yes, he has operated a live steam, not actual steam, but a 7.5-inch gauge locomotive before with expert precision. For a 2-year-old, that is rather insane. But anyways, back to everything. All the ties are done. They've all been cut, stained, and actually have this track right here. If you haven't seen my previous videos, it's directly in front of my fire. Well, not directly. It's in front of my fireplace, about 6-7 feet away. My fireplace has a heat blower on it, so I used the blower to help cure the stain that I used on the ties. We had cut me and him together. We cut 578 ties. We're gonna need over 1,000 screws to put them together. 2 screws per tie, and they attach to the steel ties that are on the rail. As you can see, he's trying to help. He's not able to screw them in by himself, but I'm more than happy to provide adequate number of screws as I go down the road here. And I'm just going to keep stacking them up. So, Geno, screw a few more in here. Daddy have the screws? Need a screw. Go get screws. There's a container. Oh no, you dropped it. I'll just grab a couple for now. Put away. And as you saw, unless you didn't watch it, my last video, I just showed the type of screws that I am using. And you're going to need to use deck screws. I am using coated deck screws. I don't think it's going to focus on that. Too much other fun stuff going on. These are triple coated deck screws, of course made in China. That's not. Actually, I think that's the only thing on this entire train that is actually made in China, though, is going to be the screws we're using to hold the ties to the rails. Or the wood ties to the metal ties. They are a little expensive. They had on sale the same brand, same coating, $10 a box, but with an additional 20% off. But they didn't have any of the short enough length that I needed for these ties. So we're just going to keep stacking them up here. Still too much snow on the ground to start placing track. Supposedly we're going to have a warmer, high 30s weekend, which should melt a good amount of snow. Come on, Gene, give me a screw. So I might be able to actually go out and lay a little bit if we're lucky. I doubt it. We're not being lucky this year. Badgers lost for, was it 3rd or 4th straight year in a row, the Rose Bowl. Thank you. So we're just going to keep stacking these up here. Our locomotive being manufactured by Plum Cove Studios is almost done. I should actually have the locomotive in just a week or so. Hopefully. Been working with lawn tracks quite a bit here too. Thank you, Geno. And putting together a little something. We do the Home and Garden Show at the Wisconsin State Fair Park every spring. Advertise and sell our scooters and motorcycles. Well, this year, on top of scooters, we're also going to be selling live steam trains. out quite nice. I really like the look of. Oh, I see you're putting them down there for Daddy to reach. Thank you. Smart boy. I swear, this kid is smarter than your average 2-year-old. He's already driving Power Wheels at 1.5 years. Like an expert pro. He was attempting to drive Daddy's car at 2. He's actually 2 years, 4 months. What do you mean, see? What's the rest of them? They're right there. The ones you dropped before. Look, see on the floor? Those are the last 2 we need. Right there. See? Here, pick up. Okay, Daddy's got it. It's still working on it. Okay, here. Alright, you want to hand them to Daddy? Oh.
Oh no.
Yeah, oh no. E. Thank you. The last one for this rail. Because the ties, the wood ties, aren't what hold the rail together or keep it engaged and whatnot. They can be with some actually metal ties. I think I went over that in a previous video. And because the metal ties are actually welded to the rails, you don't need as many ties. So whereas on a normal, well, most like clubs will use aluminum track. It's fairly low cost despite the current price for aluminum. But whereas clubs and whatnot use aluminum track, steel track, on the other hand, like you can weld it. So we got the welded ties, and it's much sturdier than aluminum, which is a good reason why, say your mall trains and whatnot use steel track instead. So with aluminum track, where you're screwing, literally putting screws to the side to hold the rail to the tie, the welds are holding everything nice and steady. The wood is just for additional stability when you have it on a softer surface and whatnot. And also because of the welded pieces. No, Gene, we don't need those. He's trying to get little leftover cuts. Here. Geno, here. Use those. Got a hole. I'll show you in a minute. I got a hole. And the one over there that he's playing with. Where was I? Forgot what I was saying. I have a tendency to do that. Because we have the steel ties holding everything together. Much more sturdy than just screwing a piece of wood because it's all welded together. I've spanned a whole track and walked across it and without anything supporting it underneath the center, and it barely bent or warped at all as I walked across. Very, very sturdy. Aluminum, because you need the wood is actually holding the track in place, keeping it upright, etc., etc. Rule of thumb is usually about 3 ties per foot. To show you, we got a foot-long ruler here. Yep. Not quite. We're spaced rather far apart. Now, if we were doing 3 ties per foot, I guess that's almost 3 ties per foot, but not quite. If we were doing 3 ties per foot, it looked more so like that. And then on top of that, the ties would also have to be wider. So let's just for sake of demonstration, show what it looked like if the ties were wider. Let's just double them up here. That's about what you'd be looking at, roughly, of course. That's roughly what you'd be looking at. So, personally, the whole prefabricated rail like this is going to cost you a little bit more from the get-go in terms of fabrication, and anywhere from $45, $50, $60 per 8 and whatever foot section. In the long run, you're going to be cheaper off because a lot less track maintenance. For the most part, once you build it, you're set to go. You don't have to constantly check to make sure the spikes are holding the rails in properly. It's all welded. You lay it down. Only thing you got to check is if a tie rots out here and there, which usually takes quite a while. You just replace the tie. And also, on aluminum or any other kind of normal style. You okay, buddy? Oh, you're such a faker. Come by, Papa. Okay, good boy. As the the rails being held in by the tie, you got a rotten tie. You can actually, you can actually have a derailment by loosening a rail coming out of place. As this is all welded together using the steel ties, much more stability. You get a rotten tie, you're just going to go right over it like there's nothing going on. Or even say you get a washout and you're tracking in one spot, don't see it, whereas that might cause a derailment on a standard setup. On a welded rail system like this, the stability of the rail is so high, it'll act like its own little bridge. Obviously, don't use it just as a bridge, but you could. It's strong enough. So me and the little midget here are going to probably do, shoot, I don't even remember how many straight sections we have for our yard here. No, it's the camera's going. You can see I got some more, the last of the ties drying up there. We have 26 straight sections of track. And we have done a total of 4 sections are complete and ready to be laid down in the yard. We have 9 ties per board. Just looking at my little notes here. Oh, right. Each section of board that I bought was 9 ties. So we have a total of 65 total boards, which yielded 578 ties, times 2 screws per tie was 1,156 deck screws. 16 curved tracks. Our curved tracks have, for the 40-foot diameter style track, 15 ties per section, whereas the straight track only has 13 ties. So the curved sections are a little bit longer. No problem. Oh, and another thought, by going with the steel and welded system here, and it is International Brotherhood of Live Steamers compatible. So any train that's designed for a standard IBLS track will work on this track as well, no problem. Because you get to use less ties, it's a lot of cost savings, and because it's all steel welded together, more stable, you can even use smaller ties. And as you see, what I am using, this is about half the size, at least minimum. This would be the size you're looking for. So I'm using half the wood. steel doesn't wear out as quickly. It's cheaper to buy. This will last until we're ready to move out of this house and hopefully move down south where we can play with our choo-choos all year round. And at that point, all I'll have to do is literally unbolt the track sections, lift them up, put them in my trailer, take them to our new house, put them down, bolt them back together. That's it. I can have that done in the afternoon. Once I'm ready to actually lay this track, I'll be done in one day. I'll probably have all the pieces on the flat cart here and just keep rolling as we go. So I think I've rambled enough for this video. I do apologize for that. And one last little thing, speaking of the Home and Garden Show, this year, 2013, the Home and Garden Show will be at, I think it was March 15th, I want to say it starts, at the Wisconsin State Fair Park. Be sure to look for us. We'll be by the cooking stage. And that pretty much covers it. As always, questions, comments, anything, just leave a message or email us. Contact information is under the video. Not sure what the next step is going to be. So, alright, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Louder.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you in the next video.